and everybody's saying, well, there's nothing in that motion, why you should think that that should be a surprise, or that you should think there's some sort of agreement to withhold, allegations that you have some sort of agreement to withhold. That's when he said that clicked for me. Yeah, he should have done it. That should have been a good clue there, but it didn't. And he says that it happened December 13th, and then he doesn't get the benefit of the doubt that that's a truthful statement at that point.
But don't you concede that at least that takes his statements into being made knowingly?
I think that could clearly take that into being knowingly. Nope. I concede that, yep. I don't concede the intentional. I'm not saying that's just negligence. I do concede that, okay?
Well, let me ask you a broader question that I think really goes to the heart of why we're here for self-regulatory purposes, which is to protect the public. Let's say that it happened exactly like he testified, exactly as you would characterize it, and agree that it is knowingly made, but not intentionally made. The purpose here is not to punish him for moral wrongs, but to protect the public from what we find are violations of ethics, which don't have any sacred moral force, but are rules to guide the conduct of lawyers. And if we've got him there doing this by being, in effect, clueless, isn't that just as much a danger to the public as if he's doing it intentionally? And isn't that reason enough to say this man should not be doing what he's doing?
I guess on that logic, you can't make if you make a mistake once, you don't have an opportunity to learn from it and go on. You have no evidence been presented to this panel that there's been any conduct like this in the previous 28 years of his career.
Go ahead.
No, that's right. I'm more than happy.
Well, number one, it wasn't just one little oversight. It wasn't one hearing where, oops, I didn't get it to him. This was conduct over an extended period over a very high-profile case with much scrutiny, so that the conduct was repeated, in essence, a number of times. And we do have a rule that says isolated incidents of negligence or inadvertence does not necessarily make an ethical violation. But clearly we have more than that here. Also, there are certain things that are so fundamental, and usually the fundamental things in self-regulation involve, as Carolyn Bakewell characterized it, longtime bar counsel, lying, cheating, and stealing. And mostly what we deal with on the very serious ones are the stealing. And we don't give anybody a free pass on misappropriation of funds just because they practiced for 30 years without stealing a client's money. So I understand that should we get to phase two, that reputation is and long-standing reputation is something we can and will take into account as a mitigating factor should we reach that. But you would not argue that on a serious ethical violation, and these are serious allegations, that should we find those to be present, he should get a mulligan on this one.
No, I'm not contending that.
Okay.
I'm trying to make certain that on the phase two we deal with it as what I would submit it is. It is.
And I'm jumping ahead.
That's right. But it is an egregious mistake and multiple egregious mistakes. But it is not intentional conduct that gets those of us that do some of this. When you get to phase two and you've already found intent, it's problematic in phase two, and that's why I'm making this argument now, okay, to have you focus in on any form of an order that looks at it on the second phase, and that's why I think if this was a pattern, you can have a pattern in one case. I'm well aware of that for one of these proceedings, but if it was a pattern of conduct by this individual, I think I think the fact that there's no evidence to support that other than in this case is indicative of he made a huge mistake in one case. So I'm not asking for a mulligan. Again, I'm trying to focus in so that we focus in on the way we would go into second phase. Mr. Rocker and I might disagree. I heard yesterday on direct, I thought, that Mr. Nifong acknowledged that we were going to be in the second phase, that we would find the rules of professional conduct.
On the statements, not on the DNA.
Well, and that's probably because his counsel got off track in the latter part of the direct. I would have done the same thing, but I thought I'd gotten that.
Oh, well, I apologize for that, too.
Yeah, sorry about that. But again, and so we aren't denying it. I think if you look at the way the answer's set up, I don't think there's been any question that we would ultimately be getting to the second phase, and that's why I'm making these arguments now. All right? Yes, sir.
You make one quick statement. As an old school administrator, I knew what my responsibilities were, what my job required. And I would not go to my board and say, you know, you're right, but I didn't know. Mr. Nifong is the elected district attorney for Durham County. He knows what his job responsibilities are and what he's required to do. And I don't know, I don't think the buck stops with him just like it stopped with me. That's a requirement of his job to know. And his staff plays a part in that to make sure that he does know or did know. I'm not sure I didn't know or I don't know would hold water. He's responsible.
There's absolutely no question that he was responsible, and I think that as a head DA, he has a responsibility over other people to make certain that that's the way that is run. I don't believe that that's going to need to be a concern from this date forward as a result of the testimony from yesterday, as far as supervising people to make certain that he is not in charge of making those decisions. So, I'll go back into any other questions. I might just leave off here and let Mr. Friedman make any comments that he does. I will be more than happy to answer any other questions that you have if I haven't addressed them. And I thank you for the time. I know you'll give it your consideration, and I appreciate it. Thank you.